Hi and welcome back to the show. My name is Mark Leruste, and each week I dive into the mind and the heart of some of the most inspiring and interesting guests that I know, so that I can pick their brains and share the wisdom with you so that you may go out there and turn those ideas of yours into action so that you can start something meaningful. Today's guest is no different. Jonny Benjamin is a British mental wellness campaigner, author and video maker, or vlogger, who in 2008 tried to take his life on the Waterloo Bridge in London, but was saved by a total stranger. He never knew who that stranger was. 6 years later, he went on a campaign, a social media campaign for that matter, to find a stranger that he had called Mike under the hashtag #FindMike. Turns out he found him. Mike wasn't Mike, but Neil, and since then has been on a mission to eradicate the stigmas and taboo around mental health issues and suicide. In today's interview, we dive into some of the most sensitive topics that most of us are very uncomfortable to talk about, which is what's really going on. What's going on inside of us? Especially as men, we're very bad at opening up. In fact, there was a study that came out where a quarter of men think it's okay to talk about their feelings, and 77% of men think it's not okay to cry in public. With that kind of stigma going around, there's a lot of work for us to do, and Jonny is one of the persons at the forefront of this campaign to eradicate mental health as a taboo. I give you Jonny Benjamin. Jonny, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming and giving your time. I know that you're very busy at the moment.
Yes.
Indeed. We first met when you came and gave a talk at the Movember Foundation about your journey and about your story. And I thought it was amazing, inspiring, and also quite refreshing to see how open and honest you were about what's been happening in your life, what you've been sort of faced with and challenges, and more importantly, what you want to be doing from now on. So I want to congratulate you for that.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
One thing that you talk about is the fact that men don't talk enough. Why do you think that is, that men in particular find it a bit more difficult to sort of open up and talk about what's going on inside?
Well, I think we've got this kind of macho culture, and especially it doesn't help that we're British, which is, that stiff upper lip. But yeah, we've got this macho culture that, people say things like, oh, man up, or we have things like, oh, I've got man flu, because we're not allowed to have proper flu.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? It's like men aren't allowed to be vulnerable or show emotion. And it's just something that's there in society. I guess something that, we all grow up with. I remember when I was a kid, I was really young, I used to go to like football with my dad, football matches, and in the stadium, men would not be afraid to show their emotions or cry or get angry or get upset or I saw men like kiss each other on the cheek when like scored a goal, and it was great.
Come to Europe, we all do that all the
time. And then when we'd leave the stadium, it's like the mask would go up, and yeah, you kind of learn it from an early age. I cried loads when I was a boy, like I was really sensitive, but then there was a period when I was like, okay, it's not okay to cry in public anymore. You just learn, don't you, that men should be strong. I'm not saying that's right, but you just learn it, and I think that's the problem. That's what we need to change. We need more men to be opening up and showing their vulnerability, and because men get issues too, and I think we really need to change the way that men are seen in society, and we just need more people, more role models, more particularly high-profile people like sports people, like footballers, to come out and say, "I struggle sometimes. I'm vulnerable." I think it could make a real difference.
Yeah, and it was for those of you who haven't seen the documentary that you're featured in. Finding a Stranger on the Bridge, Channel 4 documentary that came out in 2015, which journaled and followed your journey to find #FindMike. But before I want to get into that story, I was reading your articles that you were publishing on the Huffington Post, and something that came across for me that was fascinating for you to sort of open up about was the fact that all this started at a very young age. And I think you believe it was 10 years old, the first time you're sitting in a restaurant and you realized that you were attracted to the same sex and that you made that was wrong, that was bad.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I come from a Jewish family and it's a sin to be gay, you're told. So when I was sitting in this restaurant and I don't know, I just had this, felt this really strong attraction to this male waiter. It was just a horrible feeling of guilt and shame, and I was like, I just can't be feeling this. I cannot be feeling this. Cannot be happening. This cannot be happening. And I kind of pushed it, buried it. But it's always there, and ultimately it's going to come up. You can only push something down for so long. And as the years went by through my teenage years, and I had girlfriends, and I knew it wasn't right. And the more that I thought about it, the more I just told myself it's wrong, and I can never be this person that I really am, because I bring so much shame, and I feel like a failure amongst my family, my community, Jewish community. And it's a burden. It's an absolute burden to carry around with you.
It's really tough.
It's just, I'd rather have, back then, I'd rather have killed myself than had to have admitted to myself and to everyone around me that I was gay, because I was so ashamed of it. So ashamed of it. And I thought I'd never be able to come out and be the person I really was. So what's the point of living when you can't be that person? That's the way that I thought back then. But obviously things are very different now.
Yeah, because in 2008 you were diagnosed with a form of schizophrenia, a combination of schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, and you were in hospital. That's where you wrote your poem, your collection of poems that you published in 2012.
Yeah.
And you left the hospital, and on January the 14th, 2008, you made your way on the bridge, and you were thinking of taking your life then. But a stranger came.
Yeah.
And who saved your life.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just through a simple conversation.
Yeah, and this is the whole journey that's being documented in the documentary that's on Channel 4. So I don't want to get too much of that, because people can, and I really recommend you go and look it up. What I'm interested in finding out is this correlation when I'm hearing the conversations around the sort of the mental health issues and topics, and also the fact that you said in one, I think you wrote it or you talked about it, that you said that there was a point where you weren't sure what was harder, to talk and admit the fact that you were gay, or that you were going through these mental health. Actually, no. This is one of the questions I want to talk to you about, because there's all these what we can't talk about, how we can talk about something, how we can't talk. Can you say mental health issues? Is that how you talk about it? Is it mental health problems? Is there like a specific term that you can use? Because I feel like I'm tiptoeing around. Should I be saying mental health? What's the correct way, I guess, or what's one of the ways that you wish that more people would talk about?
I guess over the years, I've worked with different charities and organisations, and I've spoken to people that have these things, and from what I've gathered or what I've seen, mental health issues seems to be the preferred term.
Yeah.
People don't seem to like, and I understand people don't seem to like the term problems. Yeah. Issues seems a better way of describing it.
How would you, if you could have it your way, how would you talk about it?
Well, in an ideal world, it would just be health issues. We shouldn't separate physical and mental health, because it's all part of the same thing. Yeah. But that's a long way off, I think. Still, we separate, the mind and the body. So in an ideal world, it would just be health. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But for now, I guess, it's mental health issues. Yeah. And 75% of mental health issues often show up before the age of 18. I think I read a statistic that online. Yeah. And you've now launched, and it seems to me that in January you did the documentary in 2000, was 6 years after 2008, so that was in 2014. Yeah. And then this year in 2016, you've just launched a whole new initiative, Think Well. Yeah. Tell me more about that, and why does that matter to you? I just want to get mental health education into schools. It just has to happen. as you said, 75% of mental health issues begin in adolescence. So, I mean, why is it not in schools? It just doesn't really make sense. When we teach young people how to look after their bodies, we do like physical education, and I did sport, twice a week at school? Not once did anyone talk to me about my mind, about my well-being.
Yeah.
And there's so many more young people than ever before are suffering, more young people than ever before are being admitted to hospital because of things like self-harm, suicide attempts, eating disorders. And the statistics are shocking. Every 20 minutes, a young person in this country tries to take their own life. And it's like, come on, guys, like, why are we not in schools? Why? So this initiative is to try and get young people talking about mental health. The younger that we can get into, schools and get people kind of comfortable talking about this, I think the easier it will be, long term. Someone might not have a mental health issue for 20, 30 years, but at least when it comes around, they can know to talk about it, not have the shame and the stigma. And it's about knowing where to go for help and about knowing that you can overcome, We go into schools sometimes and the young people are like, oh, we didn't know you could ever get better from if you have like a mental health issue, or we didn't know there were so many places to get help. We wouldn't know where to get help, and I didn't know where to get help when I was going through it. And that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, there was something I thought was very interesting that you talked about and shared, which was when you were 16. I think you saw the Truman Show, and you believed that you were the actual in the real Truman Show, and that was going on. And there's something around what you just said. I think is so important around people just don't know that there's help.
No.
And how can people find access to that help? If let's say you're a young adolescent, you're in school, you make it bad because maybe you come from a community, regardless of the religion that you come from, that makes it wrong to be whatever you are, and you just don't know where to go or who to turn to. I mean, what's the message that you would like to tell these kids?
God, there's so much support and help out there. If you just go onto the internet and type in mental health support or where to find help, there's so many organizations, charities, such as Young Minds. There's national charities, there's local organizations as well. And ultimately as well, in school, if you're in school, there should be people that you can talk to. I don't know, it's really tough. It's really tough when you start talking. But the point is, there is support out there. There is support and people that understand and that won't judge. And that just get it, because you feel so isolated and so kind of misunderstood, and it's a really tough. Because I mean, being a teenager is tough enough, but when you're going through any sort of issues on top of that, it's incredibly hard. And it's so important to know you're not alone. That's the thing. You never have to be alone. Yeah.
And what's also interesting when you look at it is that what saved you was a conversation. I mean, when you brought it down, it was that simple. Someone that came to you, well, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce the surname, but it's Neil
Leybourne,
Neil Leybourne, which didn't turn out to be called Mike. Find Neil, #find Neil. But I want to talk about the moment, and I don't know if you can recall this, but the moment you first saw Neil, and what was that like for you to actually come in contact with him and see him for the first time after this journey of you trying to find him and getting many people telling you that they thought that they were...
I was incredibly nervous. I was so nervous. So I couldn't really get myself together. I was just so nervous. And then I calmed down. And then we sat down. I went up to greet him, and we met above a pub and went up to greet him, gave him a hug, sat down, and I composed myself. And then he did something. He was talking and he made this gesture like this.
They connected all.
Well, I've never everything just came back, like the whole, because I had block on it.
Yeah, I remember.
Everything just came back, and it was just so overwhelming to have that memory suddenly come back so vividly into your mind, and it was quite incredible, and that whole just that whole reunion was yeah, it was very special. It was very special. Just to be able to sit there and thank him, you know, for what he did. Because of course he didn't need to stop. He didn't need to stop and do what he did that day. So to be able to sit there and thank him, and for him to see as well, because, you know, he crossed that bridge every day on his way to work, and he always wondered, you know, what happened to Jonny? And so for him to see as well, you know, I think it's, I'll never forget that moment. And we're now good friends. We're actually, so he's a personal trainer, and we're trying to combine so his love and passion for physical health with my passion for mental health, because, you know, link between
100%. Absolutely.
So we're trying to work on a project now.
I'm going to introduce you to someone who's actually been on my podcast, Shay Emery. He's based in Canada. He's an all-star NFL linebacker who was abused as a young child and suffered depression, and as a result started the Wellman organization. It's basically get men go and do some physical activities in the woods, like chopping wood, building fires, but also do yoga and open up about conversations and about the stuff that we don't talk about. I want to talk about something sort of about that. Neil was on the bridge and took action. Now, I know we talk about men and women, but people who go through these thoughts and go through these suicidal thoughts and these self-harm thoughts. What would you like to tell to people who are either around them, so maybe they be their friends, their family, or someone that's walking on the bridge and sees something? Because there's this tendency of like, if no one acts, then I'm not going to act because someone else will. What is it that you would like to tell to the people around them?
I think there's this fear that you're going to say the wrong thing, and I understand, you know, you'll say the wrong thing and it'll push them over the edge, or, you know, or make it worse. But really, I don't, you know, what Neil did is he just had a simple human conversation with me. And that's all you need to do. It's no big, like...
Aha, like speech, like the sky's open, doves fly.
It's just a simple, you know, empathy. Empathy is so important. Just having that empathy. You know, you might not be able to understand, or you might not have been through what they've been through, but to have empathy and compassion and patience, and just to believe in that person as well, you know.
Like I believe you. Like I hear you, like
and also to say, because what Neil said to me, like really just sort of like casually, he was like, "Mate, like I believe you'll get better," and no one had said that to me before. So to have that message, you just, you know, so it's about reminding people that they can overcome. And it feels, when you're in that place, it feels like you can't. So to have someone else, you know, believe in you and put faith in you, it can make a real difference, I think. And it's about not giving up on that person as well, I think, because it can be a long road and it can be a real tough, you know, very up and down, but it's about not giving up. I've lost friends along the way, but that's life, isn't it, I suppose. So I've got friends that have stuck with me through it all, and I guess they're your true friends, and I believe everyone's got someone out there like that, you know, that will stick with them through everything. And if they don't, then again, charities, organisations, they have great people. They have a lot of people with lived experience that are now volunteers that want to reach out and help other people. Peer support. So you're never alone. Again, you're never alone.
Yeah, and there's also, I mean, what I thought was also amazing about your story is that you actually do video blogs, so vlogs, also known as vlogs, around this whole process and your journey. And one thing you talked about once was around women. You have most conversations with women face to face, and men tend to watch your YouTube videos and send you messages or send you emails saying, "I've watched your videos, and you know, thank you so much for opening up," and so forth. What was it like for you to actually go from believing that everything that you were was wrong and that you couldn't talk about it, to actually switching a flick somewhere and going, actually, I need to tell other people that it's okay, and to open up? What was most surprising about that process for you?
Most surprising? I guess that people got on board, or that people... when I first made when I made my first YouTube video in 2010, I knew no one with a mental health issue, no one had come forwards in my friendship group or Jewish community or what. No one. So I felt like I was the only one that, you know, was going through it. I felt so alone. But when I made my first YouTube video, and I was just blown away when people started writing to me saying, yeah, I hear a voice in my head, or, you know, I've had what they call the Truman delusion.
Yeah.
Truman Show delusion.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Or I've been depressed, I've tried to kill myself. I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm not alone. Like, it was such a relief. And, do you know, because of the role that I have now, every day I come into contact with people that have mental health issues or just are struggling, you know. I think that's probably what I've been most surprised about, is just how many people it affects. Yeah. Even if you don't want to, or they haven't got, you know, mental health issues, they're still struggling, and I actually think it's really sad. You know, it's really sad, because if it's something like, you know, people suffer from migraines, you know, it's like, oh, I had a migraine this weekend, it was, you know, but people don't say, you know, oh, my anxiety was really bad this weekend, you know, and that's...
Yeah, and it's so true though, because it's so I know people that took their lives, and it's something that the guilt, you talked about the guilt and the shame, and there's something also wrong that people around feel super guilty around. I should have known, I should have done something, I should have seen it, of course. There was some, I mean, this is going to sound like a really weird question, right? But the same way that when I used to work with the Movember Foundation, we used to talk about the signs for prostate cancer, testicular cancer.
Sure.
Are there signs that people should look out if their friends around them are I don't know, I'm going to say something like acting a little bit different or saying things that they might not be catching on? What should people be looking out for, just to see if one of their friends or one of their family members is going through something?
It's hard because, you know, I know myself, I covered it up.
Yeah.
Gosh, I covered it. I mastered it really quite well. Not something to be proud of, but yeah, really was able to mask it until the point when I broke, and that was it.
Yes.
But there are signs. I mean, you know, changes in behaviour, changes in things like sleep. You know, if someone's like, you know, I'm not sleeping very well, I haven't been sleeping well for the last few days, for the last few weeks. Sleep is one, or change in appetite. If you see them eating less, eating more, you know, change in appetite. When it comes to things like, you know, suicide, there are some signs, people talking about, you know, wonder what it would be like not to be here anymore, or, you know, just or one thing is actually giving possessions away, something that something that some people do before they unfortunately end their lives, is give their possessions away.
As a kind of like, I won't need these, take them, I want you to,
so it's something to sort of there are or drinking, like if someone's drinking more than they, like a friend suddenly starts drinking more than, I went through a phase when I just got obliterated like as much as I could, and my friends noticed, and they were like, Jonny, what's
up?
So, you know, watch out for things like that.
If you could go back to your 10-year-old self, what would you tell yourself?
That's a really good question. Just that it's okay, you know, it's okay. You know, don't feel so ashamed or embarrassed, or you know, I felt like I was crazy, I felt like I was different, I felt like an outcast. Just to say you're not, and you're not alone. And that ultimately, you know, things do change and things do get better. I think that's the message that, you know, because so many times I was like, it's never ever going to get better. And that's ultimately why, you know, I wanted to end my life, is because you just see a point, you can't see any return. You're just too far gone.
Yeah.
Telling myself it does get better. You can overcome it. I think that's so important.
That's such a strong and powerful, simple yet so powerful, which is, you know, you're okay, and things are going to get better.
Absolutely.
No, I appreciate that. And we're coming to the end of the interview, and I've got a few questions. And before I finish, I really want to acknowledge you for being And I know that sometimes the label can sound a little bit, but no, I'm just doing what's normal. But being brave and having the courage to actually stand up from the crowd and raise your hand and say, it's okay. Like, I've been through this. I'm probably still going through this. And the work that you've done to help people accept their conditions and their state of mental well-being and so forth has been huge. And I really hope that you know that, because I know that just looking up a bit online, doing a bit of research, it was just amazing to see the kind of the love and support that people feel when you show up.
That's very kind. Thank you.
That's a gift.
Thank you. Thank you.
What is one thing that most people don't know about you?
Oh wow. I think I'm pretty much people know everything about me. I'm pretty much an open book. I can't think of one thing that people don't know about me. Oh my gosh. I can't think.
I know one, that you love brownies.
Well, don't even. Well, now everyone knows. I do. I love brownies. Okay, well, one thing I guess is that, I've tried so many times to bake brownies. And every time I always fail, and I can't bake brownies.
I will put you in touch with Natalie, who's been delivering and producing the amazing brownies for the show. So Natalie, you've got a fan. And,
a massive fan.
So maybe she can. Maybe she won't be quite ready to share a recipe, but maybe she can teach you, and you can,
Honestly, like I've made brownies so many times, and every time I don't understand what I do. Like, I follow the recipe. Oh my gosh, to the exact, the timer's on, and every time they come out wrong. So I can't bake brownies.
It's the process, the therapeutic. It's good. It's going through the process. One question which I kind of forgot to ask, and which actually I think is such a key question, which is, what would you like to tell to the families who have lost someone in their lives because of suicide and deal with guilt? What would you like to tell them?
I always say, and I genuinely mean this. So on the way up to the bridge that day when I went to kill myself, the whole way on that train journey, I was praying and I was just saying, I don't want my family to feel guilty or responsible or like it's their fault. That's just the one thing the whole way there. I genuinely meant it. It's my decision. I didn't want them to feel in any way responsible. And that's what, I want to say, because I meet so many people and who've lost loved ones to suicide, and they just feel this huge, huge weight of guilt. And I understand, but genuinely, I never, ever wanted my family to feel that sense of guilt, because it was me. It was my decision. It's there was nothing more that they could have done.
Yeah.
So yeah, to kind of, break down some of that guilt.
Yeah. And thanks for sharing that as well. Because you've now become a role model, and you've become at least an advocate and an activist around mental health issues, does that mean that you feel that you can't open up about how you feel when you feel really down? And is there like a double-edged sword where you kind of like, I have to have it together because I'm supposed to tell people that you can get better, and when I go through these tough times and these tough days, I just want to hide somewhere and just disappear?
Do you know what, funny enough actually, sometimes. When I went through a relapse about 18 months ago, and someone said to me, you can't, because you're meant to be this strong, and I was like, well, yeah, but I
actually, this is why I'm doing this, is so I can, even when I'm not.
Yeah, this is it. This is life. This is life for everyone, isn't it? But especially when you've got a mental health issue, it's, you can never stay. But when I went through my last relapse, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna document it all. So I vlogged the whole thing.
Yeah,
I called them
recover log.
Yeah, my recover logs. Yeah,
because I really recommend anyone to go and have a look at them, because it's just amazing how you kind of open up and share about things that all of us are kind of like, oh wow, you said that, and that invites and opens up other people to join. So yeah.
Thank you, but yeah, I wanted to show people because it's not all happy end. Yeah, it's not like everyone thought. Oh, after the Find Mike
Oh, you're
campaign,
done.
yeah,
Yeah.
and everything will be great, and that's not life, is it? You know, yeah. It is hard when I find it much easier to talk about things in the past. You know, oh, I
Sure.
went through that.
Yeah.
But when you're actually going through it, yeah, I do struggle. I struggle to talk to my family and friends, but I can open up to, and that's the important thing. I can open up to certain people like therapists and certain friends that are close to me. So yeah, it is a struggle because you just want everyone to think you're okay.
You're okay. Yeah.
And not to worry. That's the thing. I hate it when people worry about me.
Because you don't. It's like I don't need to have to worry about that on top of what I'm already going. If I'm now thinking that you're worried about me, then it's a double.
Exactly. So it is hard, but as long as you can open up to certain people, as long as you don't hold it in, I think that's the important thing, really.
Cool. What does being unconventional mean to you?
Oh, being unconventional. Just not kind of not fitting in, but not being afraid to not fit in. I was at school and I just wanted to fit in, and I would I don't know, do things that I didn't even today sometimes, I don't know. Still, I go to a lot of kind of events and things, and I don't know, like I hate champagne, for example. I absolutely hate champagne, and I go to these events and like champagne, and it's like, oh yeah, and then I'm like, why do it, like,
right.
why just
Where's this coming from? Are you doing this because you're trying to please, or you're doing this because you actually enjoy the champagne glass that you're drinking?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, it's about trying. I have a long time. I just try to please people. Always just trying to please people.
Yeah.
Instead of
another feeling. Yeah.
Instead of number one. And that's why I kept everything so silent and hidden, because I just wanted to be like everyone else and conform and just be normal. Well, there's no such thing as normal. So trying to learn to be unconventional, and I guess I have done that through my vlogs and things, speaking up and being frank and so yeah, I guess being unconventional for me is not following the trends, not being afraid to do whatever, whether it's speak up or wear the things you want to wear, or just be you, I think.
Yeah. When the time comes, and I hope it's when you're in your old age, with the lovely Mr. Benjamin, and you could write 3 truths that are truer than true for you, that you would like to share with future generation of people to come, what would those 3 truths be?
About me or about?
Yeah, but that that now about, like, if you could give 3 words of or wisdom, or 3 truths that you kind of know today to someone out there, and that would be like the gift that you'd go with. What would be those 3 truths?
The 3 truths would be you should never be ashamed or embarrassed about what goes on in here. There's nothing to be ashamed or embarrassed about. What happens in here is no different to the rest of the body. What happens in here is no different to, like, the heart or the liver. You can't control what goes on, and you should never ever you would never feel embarrassed about I don't know, having a stomach ache. Like, it's no different to going through a period of anxiety, or so never ever feel embarrassed or ashamed about it. Other truths are I guess something that I've learned is that the government don't really care. This is a bit of a weird one, but the government don't really care. I've been trying to, I've had lots of meetings in government and meeting MPs and things, and honestly, our current Prime Minister, David Cameron, I don't think you gives a crap about mental health and about, and it's really sad. And you know, if you just look at things like, you know, for example, the suicide rate in men hasn't changed in like 30 years. It's just stayed the same, and that's because things like the suicide prevention plan that the government has come up with is crap. Half of local authorities don't put it in place. There's money's cut everywhere. No one cares. No one cares at the top. No one cares about people that are vulnerable. And I see that at the moment, and I'm fighting that at the moment because so many mental health services are being closed down.
It's the biggest killer amongst men in the 40s, isn't it?
Yeah.
Suicide,
yeah. And I just know that there's so much more that we can do. Things like, simple things like, you know, we could get rid of, there's pro-suicide websites, you know. Really? Loads of pro-suicide websites. And if Google and the government just got together and took them off, you know, if there was a website showing David Cameron and a pig doing, you know what, they would take that down straight away, but no, leave all the pro-suicide websites. And I know that a lot of people that have taken their lives have used these pro-suicide, and it's so frustrating, and I just feel like, yeah, that's my second truth. It's not a nice truth, but the government don't care, and we, as the people, need to fight them, and we need to stand up and
knock on the door for what you want.
Yeah, we need to fight them. It's not a nice truth.
It's okay. It is a truth.
It's
your truth. Third one.
My third one is that you can overcome anything.
Yeah.
I really honestly believe that you can overcome any adversity in life. And honestly, like, when I was 20 and I was in that hospital, I really genuinely thought never, ever, ever, ever come back from it. And I was pretty unwell, you know. I was hearing a voice in my head. I was delusional. I thought I was on the Truman Show. Even my psychiatrist said, I never thought you'd come back from that. And
wow.
I know.
I'm not quite sure if that's a good thing or...
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I really do think, you know, if I can overcome that, and it took years, it did take years, and it took a lot, but if I believe it, and it sounds a bit cheesy, but if I can do it, then I really do believe that anyone can, you know, overcome anything, with the right help and the right support and the self-belief and self-worth and self-compassion. That's all extremely hard, but I believe that anyone can achieve that. Yeah.
Yeah. Jonny, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you.
There you have it, folks. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. What I really took away from speaking with Jonny today was that no matter what you think, no matter what people may have led you to believe, that there's always a brighter future. There's always something that can be done where you will feel better. And on top of that, accept who you are, no matter what, because there's nothing worse than thinking that you are not enough, because you are so enough. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please give it a thumbs up. Share it with someone that you know, or perhaps think that might really benefit from today's conversation with Jonny, because I think there's so many important tips and messages that Jonny shared around mental health issues and how we're just going to put a stop to making it bad to open up. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. I don't want you to miss out on any of the amazing episodes coming out where we're going to have some of the most amazing and inspiring guests. We're going to share their message with you so that you can realize sooner than later that what really stands between you and taking action on that big dream of yours is nothing but a story that you're telling yourself. So here we go to taking action on that big thing that matters to you. Thanks, and see you next time. Today's guest is no exception. Today's guest is no exception. Today's guest is no exception. Exception. Today's guest is no different. Jonny Benjamin is a British
Amazing. Well done.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap.